Humanity tends to believe that history began when writing began, that before the first tablets, the first alphabets, the first inscriptions, there was only primitive darkness. But this belief is a comforting illusion. Beneath the continents, beneath our oceans, beneath our deserts and jungles, there are ruins that whisper a different story. A story of civilizations far older, far stranger, and far more advanced than anything our textbooks dare to suggest. This documentary is not merely about archaeology. It is about confronting a truth we have collectively avoided, that we are not the first advanced society on this earth. We may not even be the second. Our planet has lived through cycles, epochs of light followed by epochs of erasure. Tonight you will walk through chambers carved before the Ice Age. You will descend into cities built when mammoths still roamed. You will witness technologies that cannot be replicated today, even with cranes, lasers, and computers. If this challenges your understanding of history, good. It means you are awake. Because the ruins we explore are not myths. They are physical, measurable, undeniable. And they tell us that the story of humanity did not begin 6,000 years ago. It merely restarted.
There is a strange pattern found across every continent. Abandoned cities with no signs of battle, temples with no signs of cult, and structures so precise that even modern architects hesitate to guess how they were built. But the most haunting pattern is not what we see, it's what we don't see. Entire civilizations vanished without bones, without tools, without transitional cultures, without any explanation at all. No migration trails. No signs of invasion, no slow decay, only sudden disappearance, as if someone or something erased them overnight. These lost societies left behind stonework so advanced that our engineers struggle to replicate it even with modern machinery. They carved pillars weighing hundreds of tons. They aligned temples with star systems invisible to the naked eye. They possessed mythologies describing events that occurred long before written history. These civilizations weren't just early, they were extraordinary. And the deeper researchers dig, the more we discover that the biggest question is not how they vanished, but why. What did they know? What were they warning about? And is humanity destined to repeat their fate?
Imagine a world before our current world. A time when coastlines were different, when sea levels were lower, and when vast land bridges connected continents. During those forgotten ages, humans lived, thrived, built, and perished. And yet everything they created now rests beneath hundreds of feet of seawater or under layers of sediment thicker than skyscrapers. We often assume we are the pinnacle of civilization. But what if we are merely the most recent? What if an entire timeline of human innovation lies buried thousands of meters below the surface? This documentary will take you to underwater pyramids larger than those in Egypt, to circular megalithic complexes older than agriculture, and to continents swallowed whole by ancient floods. Each discovery changes the foundation of human history, and each raises a terrifying possibility that the advancement of humanity is not linear, but cyclical. Civilizations rise, reach a peak, and collapse, wiped clean by forces beyond their control, forces that may be preparing to return. Tonight, we explore ancient worlds before our world.
For decades, researchers, explorers, and archaeologists have reported discoveries that contradict mainstream timelines. Evidence of machining marks on stones dated to prehistoric eras. Maps showing continents accurately charted long before global navigation existed. Artifacts that display metallurgical techniques supposedly impossible for ancient cultures. And when these findings surface, they are quietly dismissed, ignored, or buried under academic politics. But evidence does not vanish simply because it is inconvenient. In this documentary, we resurrect that forbidden evidence. We examine the ruins that should not exist, the artifacts that should not function, and the structures that should not stand. We confront the possibility that an advanced global civilization predating all known history once flourished and then disappeared, leaving only fragments behind. If this idea unsettles you, understand this: that discomfort is the first step towards seeking truth.
Every myth begins with truth. Flood legends appear in more than 200 cultures. Sky visitors, lost golden ages, and vanished continents are described across civilizations that never had contact. These stories persist because they are not fantasies. They are memories. Memories passed down from the survivors of a forgotten era. The Great Flood, the falling sky, the burning horizon, the endless night. These are not metaphors, they are eyewitness accounts from people whose world ended. As we journey deeper into lost civilizations, we will encounter structures built to survive these cataclysms. Vaults designed to protect knowledge, megaliths meant to signal future generations, stone calendars counting down astronomical cycles that repeat every 12,000 years. Cycles associated with global destruction. The ancients weren't just builders, they were warning us. And tonight, we decode their message.
High in the lonely Andean plateau, where the wind never stops and the sky looks close enough to touch, stands a mysterious stone gateway carved with impossible precision into a sheer red cliff. This ancient monolith, known today as Aramu Muru, has perplexed explorers for centuries. At first glance, it looks simple, a rectangular frame with a smaller niche at its base. But when you stand before it, you feel something unusual. Travelers report a low hum, a subtle vibration in the air, a strange pressure behind the eyes. Some claim they feel magnetized toward it, as if the stone itself exerts a pull. Local legends insist it is not a doorway carved by mortals, but a portal built by a forgotten race that predated the Inca by thousands of years. Priests from the old Aymara traditions whispered that the builders were able to walk between worlds, stepping through the stone to reach a luminous city beyond human sight. Archaeologists, meanwhile, remain puzzled. Tool marks are non-existent. The edges are so sharply cut they resemble machine work. The stone surface is perfectly flat, almost polished, as though shaped by a method no ancient chisels could ever achieve. Some researchers have proposed that Aramu Muru was once part of a vast ceremonial complex that has since vanished into time. Perhaps a final remnant of an Andean civilization wiped out by a natural cataclysm. Others believe the structure was never unfinished, but was completed exactly as intended, its purpose lost to memory. Today, it stands untouched, timeless, quietly challenging every assumption we hold about early human engineering. Beneath the shimmering surface of Lake Titicaca, a body of water sacred to countless cultures, lies one of the most extraordinary submerged archaeological zones ever documented. When divers first discovered massive stone blocks resting on the lakebed, the world assumed they were natural rock formations. But closer inspection revealed something extraordinary. Straight edges, perfect right angles, paved roads, ceremonial plazas, and the shattered remains of what appeared to be temples. These findings were unlike anything built by the Inca, and they bore no resemblance to Tiwanaku architecture either. Instead, they pointed to a civilization far older, possibly predating recorded Andean history by thousands of years. Some blocks weigh more than 100 tons, suggesting engineering techniques nearly impossible for ancient societies, unless they possessed technologies or methodologies that have since been forgotten. Local myths tell of the children of the sun, luminous beings who emerged from the lake and taught early humans the secrets of stonecraft, astronomy, and agriculture. Of course, these may be symbolic tales, poetic interpretations of ancestral memories. Yet the eerie precision of the underwater ruins challenges us to reconsider these legends. How did an entire lakeside kingdom sink beneath Titicaca's waters? Geological studies suggest that massive tectonic shifts and sudden flooding events could have occurred. Perhaps an earthquake shattered the terrain, dragging cities downward into the deep. Or perhaps a slow, inevitable rise in water level gradually swallowed their temples and homes, erasing a culture until only myth remained. Whatever the cause, the lake guards its secrets well, holding within its depths the silent remains of a forgotten empire.
The Euphrates River, often celebrated as the cradle of civilization, may hold an even older secret beneath its shifting sands. Recent satellite imaging and ground-penetrating scans have revealed immense geometric patterns buried below the desert surface, outlines of once lively cities, immense defensive walls, complex irrigation canals, and circular structures whose purpose is still unknown. These formations do not match known Sumerian, Akkadian, or Babylonian designs. Instead, they belong to an older, undocumented culture, one that flourished long before writing first appeared in Mesopotamia. Excavations have uncovered pottery with a metallic sheen that defies typical prehistoric craftsmanship. Some fragments appear heat-fused, as though exposed to extremely high temperatures. Even more remarkable are the symbols etched into stone tablets found nearby. They are not cuneiform. They are not pictographs. Instead, they resemble mathematical sequences, precise grids of lines and dots, almost as if these people encoded information using an early form of computational logic. Yet, despite their sophistication, the culture seems to have vanished without leaving behind a single human skeleton or burial site. No evidence of war, famine, or invasion. It is as if the population simply disappeared. Some theorists propose that drastic climate shifts forced mass migration. Others suspect a catastrophic river shift buried their cities overnight. But the most provocative question remains: how did such an advanced society become so completely forgotten that even its name has been erased?
For centuries, sailors from Ireland and the British Isles whispered tales of a phantom island called High Brazil, said to be shrouded in golden mist and visible only once every 7 years. Most dismissed it as folklore, until modern bathymetric mapping revealed something astonishing: a massive sunken plateau with large circular stone foundations arranged in spiral patterns. These formations match Gaelic descriptions of ancient fire temples, sanctuaries dedicated to astronomical study and maritime navigation. Legends speak of a seafaring culture that possessed knowledge far surpassing its neighbors, predicting tides with pinpoint accuracy, forecasting storms, even charting stars invisible to the naked eye. Their mastery of the ocean may have allowed them to reach far corners of the Atlantic long before the Vikings or Phoenicians set sail. However, the same ocean that empowered them may have been their downfall. Rising sea levels at the end of the last ice age could have swallowed the island rapidly, forcing its people to flee until their culture dissipated into the surrounding world. The circular temples on the seafloor, with their eerie alignment and peculiar precision, suggest a society deeply connected to the movement of stars, water, and fire. Though myths claim the island vanished in a single night, science suggests a slower tragedy, a world gradually consumed by the sea. Yet the ruins still glow with mystery, hinting at a civilization whose knowledge, once luminous, was quenched by the ocean's depths. Long before the Sahara became the world's largest desert, it was a vast green expanse filled with lakes, forests, and thriving settlements. Deep beneath its dunes, archaeologists have uncovered hollowed-out stone structures so large and intricate they resemble inverted mountains carved from the inside. These underground temples feature massive pillars polished to a mirror-like finish, chambers stretching hundreds of meters, and murals depicting tall, elongated figures performing rites whose meanings have long been lost. Some passages are etched with geometric codes, while others contain pits lined with charred stone, evidence of scorching heat powerful enough to blacken granite. Who built these subterranean sanctuaries, and why? One theory suggests that the builders were adapting to a dramatically changing climate, taking their civilization underground as the world around them grew hotter and drier. Others propose that the chambers served ceremonial purposes, a place to commune with the earth, or perhaps even astronomical observatories protected from the blinding sun. But the sudden abandonment of these colossal structures is puzzling. Was there a great drought that forced the final residents to flee, or did a catastrophic sandstorm seal the entrances forever? Whatever the truth, the Sahara continues to shift and hide its secrets, while these hollow temples stand silent testimony to a people erased by time and swallowed by sand.
Far beneath the waves of the Indian Ocean lies a submerged landscape that challenges both geology and history. Explorers have documented vast, triangular platforms made from volcanic stone, arranged with laser-like precision along tectonic ridgelines. Scattered among these ruins are crystalline pillars, enormous quartz structures shaped so perfectly that they reflect light in intricate patterns. These fragments appear to be the remains of a culture known in ancient myths as Lemuria, a legendary continent said to have been home to scholars, astronomers, and mineral artisans. Tamil stories describe a land called Kumari Kandam, a lost realm of knowledge swallowed by the sea. While such tales are often dismissed as allegory, the underwater formations present a tangible puzzle. Some quartz pillars seem fused at their bases, as if they were melted into place using techniques beyond ancient craftsmanship. Geological evidence suggests that catastrophic tectonic shifts could have fractured a once massive landmass, dragging entire cities into the ocean. Did the Lemurians foresee their doom? Ancient scripts hint at prophecies of the ocean reclaiming the earth. Perhaps they tried to preserve their knowledge within crystalline architecture, believing quartz would survive where stone could not. Today, the ruins lie draped in coral and shadow, their brilliance dimmed but not extinguished, waiting for the world to rediscover them.
Göbekli Tepe is often hailed as the world's oldest known monumental site. But recent findings have sparked a radical new theory that the visible rings of pillars may be the final stage of an even older tradition. Beneath the known layers lie deeper foundations, older stone rings, and traces of pigment ink that suggest the presence of a literate culture predating the Neolithic Revolution itself. The carvings adorning the pillars depict animals, celestial symbols, and scenes so stylized they imply not simple art, but a complex symbolic system, potentially the earliest form of encoded storytelling. Some stones bear markings that resemble proto-writing, intricate strokes that may represent astronomical cycles or legendary events. Yet the most chilling discovery is a set of carvings showing a sky filled with streaking lights, eerily similar to depictions of comet showers. Could an early celestial catastrophe have triggered a collapse, wiping out a culture so advanced it left behind monumental architecture but no surviving descendants? When the builders vanished, their knowledge may have fragmented across tribes until memory deteriorated into myth. Over time, new peoples found the sacred hill, repurposing it as a ceremonial hub without fully understanding the deeper, older world upon which they stood. Göbekli Tepe may not simply be the origin of civilization, but the final echo of one lost.
Deep beneath the Black Sea's cold, dark waters lies one of the most haunting lost cities ever discovered. A sprawling labyrinth of stone corridors, courtyards, rising staircases, and towering arches that extend for hundreds of meters in every direction. This labyrinth does not resemble any known architectural tradition. Some chambers are paved with black basalt tiles arranged in star patterns, clearly aligned with ancient celestial observations.
In others, colossal statues stand guard, stone colossi with features intentionally defaced or removed as if their identities were meant to be erased forever. Geological records indicate that around 5600 BCE, the region experienced a massive flood when Mediterranean waters surged through the Bosporus, drowning entire coastal settlements in a matter of months. Perhaps this labyrinth belonged to a coastal culture overwhelmed by this sudden deluge, people who fought to preserve their knowledge in stone halls only to be consumed by the rising sea. The uncanny silence of the underwater ruins is overwhelming. Divers report a sense of disorientation, as though the labyrinth's design intentionally confuses, its geometry twisting the mind. Some corridors lead nowhere, others spiral downward into darkness too deep for modern exploration. What compelled this civilization to build such a vast underground complex? Was it a sanctuary, a ceremonial center, a defensive stronghold? Until more of it is explored, the labyrinth remains a riddle etched in stone beneath the sea.
Far to the north, on the wind-swept islands of Orkney, lie ancient stone circles older than Stonehenge, structures built with astonishing mathematical precision. These rings align not only with solstices and lunar cycles, but also with long-forgotten celestial events, no longer visible in today's sky. Beneath the main ring formations, excavations have revealed older foundations, suggesting that the site was built in layers over countless generations. Each layer demonstrates more advanced astronomical understanding than the one before it. Some researchers believe the original builders were part of a migratory culture that sailed along the Atlantic coastline, bringing with them sacred knowledge of the heavens. Their temples were not just observatories, they were memory systems, encoding astronomical cycles into stone. What's remarkable is how these cycles correspond to events from thousands of years earlier, hinting at knowledge inherited from an even more ancient source. Were these people the last carriers of wisdom passed down from a larger, forgotten North Atlantic civilization? If so, the Orkney Rings may represent not the beginning of British prehistory, but the final chapter of a culture that slowly faded into isolation, its astronomical mastery eventually lost to time and storm.
Along the outermost frontier of the Indus Valley civilization lie ruins that defy everything we know about early engineering. Beneath layers of sediment are complex brick-lined water channels, subterranean reservoirs, and ventilation systems so advanced they resemble early prototypes of modern infrastructure. These older structures do not match the standardized brick patterns of Mohenjo-Daro or Harappa. Instead, they are constructed with kiln-fired bricks of unusual size and strength, and with stone rib reinforcements suggesting a sophisticated understanding of structural physics. Archaeologists suspect these ruins belonged to a precursor culture, engineers who mastered hydrology and urban planning long before the Indus civilization emerged. Yet this culture left no inscriptions, no burial grounds, no artistic remnants. What kind of society invests so heavily in engineering but leaves no trace of its identity? Perhaps they were a people defined entirely by utility and function, a civilization that measured its success not in monuments, but in systems. Some speculate that rising river levels or massive flooding may have forced them to abandon their settlements. Others believe they may have migrated en masse, carrying their knowledge with them and spreading it across the subcontinent. Whatever their fate, these engineers left behind the silent blueprint of a civilization far ahead of its time, a forgotten foundation upon which later cultures unknowingly built.
As archaeologists pushed deeper into the desert interior of northern Mesopotamia, they encountered the tumbled stone bulwarks of a settlement that had no reference in any surviving tablet, chronicle, or trade record. The villagers living nearby spoke of the ruins only in hushed tones,
calling them Kimareth, the walls that whisper. And though researchers dismissed the name as folklore, their certainty evaporated the moment they stepped inside the threshold. For within those half-standing corridors, battered by millennia of wind and heat, strange acoustics played tricks on the senses. A footstep echoed out of nowhere. A breath seemed to return in duplicate. Someone could stand still and swear another person was breathing just behind them. After multiple surveys, sound engineers confirmed that the structure exploited principles of wave reflection only rediscovered in modern architecture. These ancient builders understood resonance and acoustic behavior on a level that defied their technological context. But the most unsettling discovery came when ground radar revealed chambers beneath the sands, giant circular voids arranged in perfect harmonic ratios, as if the entire city were designed as a colossal sound instrument. What purpose did it serve? Ceremony? Communication? Control? Or something more extraordinary? An early attempt to harness vibration as energy? As excavations continued, the whispers intensified. A researcher described hearing an entire sentence, not in any known language, reverberate through the stone as if spoken by the walls themselves. But the moment she played back her audio recorder, it contained only static. Kimareth, the lost resonant city, remains one of archaeology's most disconcerting puzzles. Evidence that ancient civilizations may have grasped unseen forces long before science gave them names.
High in the frozen north, where glaciers carve the land into white labyrinths, lies the citadel of Halvrin, an impossible stronghold perched on a razor-thin cliff that modern climbers struggle to reach even with advanced gear. Yet the people who built Halvrin not only reached it, but fortified it, engineered it, and lived within its walls for generations. Radiocarbon estimates place Halvrin at nearly 10,000 years old, thousands of years before mainstream timelines say complex fortifications should have existed. But the true enigma lies not in the citadel's age, but in its precision. Granite blocks weighing several tons were quarried from mountains miles away, then hauled up inclines so steep they challenge even present-day machinery. And inside the citadel? Warmth. Not remnants of fires, but traces of geothermal redirection, stone ducts redirecting deep earth heat into living chambers, maintaining a stable temperature even in blizzards. This means Halvrin's builders understood energy distribution in ways prehistoric cultures were never supposed to. Even more confounding are the carvings etched into the walls. Humans wearing layered garments lined with symbols eerily similar to modern thermal schematics. These were not primitive cave dwellers, they were engineers of the ice. And yet, one day, Halvrin was abandoned. No battle scars, no graves, no signs of starvation or disease. They walked away or vanished, leaving their fortress to be slowly swallowed by snow. Some researchers propose climate catastrophe. Others whisper of a migration into the mountains beyond, hinting at tunnels yet unfound. But until the ice yields its full secrets, Halvrin remains a silent monument to the impossibly advanced minds of the ancient world.
Off the coast of the Indian Ocean lies a stretch of seafloor where sonar scans revealed an impossible sight. Rectilinear foundations forming concentric rings, wide avenues, and collapsed towers. An entire metropolis submerged 40 meters beneath the waves. Named Tellura, this underwater kingdom predates known coastal urbanization by more than 6,000 years. Divers who ventured into the ruins found something even more astonishing. Murals preserved beneath layers of sediment depicting a culture deeply reliant on astronomy. Carvings of stars, comets, and celestial alignments line the walls, suggesting Tellura's rulers tracked the heavens with startling accuracy. But how did the city sink? Geological cores tell of sudden shoreline collapse, an event so violent the entire metropolis plunged into the sea in a single night. What triggered it? A meteor strike? A megathrust earthquake? Or something more mysterious, perhaps linked to the astronomical carvings themselves? Some believe Taliora's scholars predicted a cosmic event and attempted to warn future generations. Others think they attempted to harness tidal power or lunar energy and triggered their own destruction. But the greatest question remains: where are the people? No skeletons have been found among the ruins. The population of this vast city, tens of thousands, left no trace. Did they flee inland? Did they perish in the cataclysm? Or did they migrate to form new cultures we know by other names? Each dive brings new clues, but no closure. Taliora is a paradox, an advanced civilization erased in a single night, leaving only stone, silence, and questions.
Deep within the Amazon, where dense canopy filters sunlight into emerald shadows, explorers discovered a series of stone causeways forming a perfect geometric grid spanning nearly 40 kilometers, far too vast to be a tribal settlement. This was Arun, a civilization hidden for millennia by rainforest regrowth. LiDAR scans revealed plazas, pyramidal platforms, reservoirs, and elevated roads designed to prevent flooding, the architectural fingerprints of a highly organized society. But what stunned researchers most was the presence of botanical engineering, evidence that Arun's inhabitants selectively cultivated plants not for food, but for environmental management. Certain species were arranged in patterns that reduced mosquitoes, stabilized soil, and even moderated humidity. This was ecological engineering centuries ahead of its time. The few surviving glyphs depict robed figures standing before towering trees with halos of light, perhaps mythologized representations of environmental guardians or knowledge keepers. But the downfall of Arun remains unsolved. Soil analysis suggests a slow collapse rather than catastrophe, possibly caused by shifting river patterns, internal conflict, or overexpansion. Yet no mass graves or signs of warfare have been found. It is as though the population dissolved into the forest, becoming one with the environment they once controlled. Some Amazonian tribes still speak of the Arun walkers, pale-robed figures who appear in storms and vanish into trees. Myth or remnants of a culture not entirely gone? In the arid highlands of western Anatolia stands a ring of megaliths so precise in their orientation that modern astrophysicists were forced to recalculate ancient celestial models. Named the Observatory of Sirith, this structure predates Stonehenge by millennia and may represent the earliest mapping of the precessional shift, the wobble of Earth's axis, a phenomenon long believed to have been first documented in classical Greece. The stones align with solstices, lunar nodes, and the rising of stars no longer visible due to axial drift. This means Sirith's builders tracked cosmic cycles lasting thousands of years, far longer than any human lifespan. How did they preserve such knowledge? Oral tradition? Generational astronomers? Or a system we have yet to understand? But the greatest mystery lies beneath the stones, subterranean chambers arranged in spirals that mirror the pattern of the Milky Way. Inside, archaeologists found polished spheres of quartz that scatter light into starlight glimmers, suggesting ritualistic or observational use. Some theorists believe Sirith functioned as both observatory and temple, a bridge between scientific observation and spiritual interpretation. Others argue it formed part of a larger network of star tracking sites across the ancient world. But one thing is certain: Sirith challenges every assumption about prehistoric intellect. These were not mere skywatchers, they were astronomers of extraordinary sophistication. In the remote expanse of the Gobi Plateau, beyond dunes that shift like restless oceans, rises a formation that defies every architectural logic of the ancient world: the silent spires of Nairos. At first glance, they appear to be natural stone pinnacles carved by erosion, but a closer examination reveals symmetrical grooves, intentional crossbeams, and hollow chambers inside the towers, clear signs of human construction. What perplexes researchers is the purpose. These spires do not resemble homes, temples, or defensive structures. Instead, they seem designed for something else entirely: wind. During seasonal storms, the spires emit deep, resonant tones, harmonizing like a colossal organ built into the desert itself. Ancient wind instruments on a monumental scale. Some archaeologists propose that Naos was a wind sanctuary, where early cultures experimented with natural acoustics for ritual, communication, or even navigation across the harsh desert. Others suggest a darker possibility. The tones may have served as warnings to travelers or as deterrents to predators. But inside the spires lie carvings of robed figures with raised palms pointed toward the sky, as though calling upon the wind itself. No artifacts, no bones, no remnants of habitation, only sound, stone, and the echoes of a people who understood nature's voice in ways we no longer can. And then, the most puzzling detail. Similar spires appear thousands of miles away in North Africa and Central Asia, built with uncanny similarity. Were these ancient acoustic engineers connected across continents? Or is this an example of shared genius emerging independently? Naos remains a stone choir with no singers, a monument built for winds that still whisper their forgotten hymns.
Far beneath the layers of volcanic ash in southern Italy lies Veiltor, a city frozen in time, not by lava, but by something far stranger. Excavators initially believed the settlement was destroyed by eruption, but the burn marks told a different story. The outer walls were scorched at temperatures far higher than natural fire, while inner rooms were untouched, as if the flames selectively avoided them. More unsettling were the patterns burned into stone, spirals, sigils, and geometric grids that appear almost intentional. Some researchers speculate that Veiltor was testing early metallurgical or chemical technologies that triggered catastrophic thermal reactions. Others think they attempted to harness lightning or plasma-like phenomena, perhaps in rituals or experiments now lost to history. But the greatest mystery lies in the central plaza, where a perfectly circular scorch mark, 30 meters across, surrounds an intact pedestal. Whatever once stood on that pedestal is missing, removed either before or after the catastrophe. Clues from pottery fragments show a society with a unique iconography. Stylized flames held in cupped hands, suggesting the people of Veiltor saw fire not merely as a tool, but as a sacred force. Did they attempt to control that force, or did they unleash something they could not contain? The city's abrupt destruction and the silence in all written records hint at collective fear, a desire to erase Veiltor from memory. And for 2,000 years, it nearly worked. Along a storm-battered coastline in the North Atlantic, divers discovered something astonishing. Door-like slabs carved from a rare mineral found only deep beneath the seafloor. These slabs form the entrance to the vaults of Meraxes, an underground complex built so close to tidal caverns that waves crash into its chambers like living thunder. Inside the vaults lay carvings of sea creatures, both familiar and alien. Elongated whales, armored fish, serpentine forms that resemble creatures known only from deep ocean trenches. Even stranger, the carvings depict humans diving alongside these beasts without fear. Meraxes was not a fishing village. It was a maritime civilization obsessed with the ocean's darkest depths.
Bronze tools found within the vault suggest advanced underwater practices, and soot patterns imply the use of early pressurized lamps. Did the people of Meraxes dive deeper than any ancient culture on record? Did they make contact with species modern science has yet to document? The vault's final chamber offers a chilling clue. A mural of the coastline being swallowed by monstrous waves, while robed figures raise their arms not in fear, but in ritual. Was Meraxes destroyed by a megastorm, a tsunami, or something far stranger, an oceanic phenomenon they foresaw but could not escape? Today, the tide still roars through the vault as if echoing their last moments, a reminder of the sea's power and the hubris of those who tried to master it.
In a desert canyon of Jordan lies Larinthos, an ancient settlement hidden within narrow redstone chasms. The walls are etched with constellations, thousands of them, mapped with precision far beyond what a nomadic desert culture should possess. But the strangest discovery was that many of these constellations do not match today's night sky. Instead, they align with star positions as they appeared 12,000 years ago. This suggests Larinthos preserved astronomical records across countless generations, perhaps serving as a temporal library for celestial knowledge. Some scholars believe migrants carved new star maps every few centuries, documenting changes in the heavens. Others think Larinthos was a sanctuary for skywatchers fleeing cataclysmic events. But deeper in the canyon lies something far more troubling: star maps of constellations that do not exist at all. Unknown patterns, unseen formations. Did the people of Larinthos record visions, myths, or perhaps astronomical phenomena lost to time? Or had Earth's sky changed more dramatically than we realize? The settlement shows no sign of violence. People simply left. But why abandon a knowledge sanctuary they had protected for millennia? Perhaps the answer lies in their final mural, a massive comet streaking across the sky, depicted with reverence, fear, and finality.
In East Asia's mist-laden highlands, archaeologists uncovered a cluster of monoliths so deeply fused with ancient tree roots that separating stone from wood proved nearly impossible. This site, called Yonsen Kai, suggests a civilization that not only lived within forests, but designed monuments intended to merge with them. The monoliths bear smooth surfaces except for carefully carved notches that seem to guide tree growth, almost like biological architecture. Some trees have grown into perfect spirals, others into interlocking crown patterns, forming vaulted twilight corridors of leaves and stone. Botanical analysis reveals that Yonsen Kai's inhabitants selectively bred tree strains to grow in specific formations, making them pioneers of environmental sculpture. But why? One hypothesis is spiritual, a belief that the forest itself was alive and required collaboration. Another is practical. Living architecture provided resilience against earthquakes and storms. But the disappearance of Yonsen Kai remains a riddle. Pollen samples indicate a sudden shift in climate, perhaps a prolonged drought or monsoon collapse. Yet the structures show no sign of destruction, only abandonment. The trees, however, continued to grow, consuming the monuments and sealing the civilization within their embrace. Today, Yonsen Kai stands half-ruin, half-living organism, a testament to a culture that sought harmony over conquest.
Beneath a wind-swept valley in northern India lies a subterranean maze carved into bedrock. Hundreds of tunnels etched with metallic inscriptions. These inscriptions, made with iron tools that predate known metallurgy by thousands of years, form a language no scholar has deciphered. The deeper researchers ventured into the catacombs, the stranger the carvings became. Diagrams of human faces split into two. rings of symbols resembling energy waves, and scenes showing people descending into the earth as though entering another realm. Some suggest Dharma was a necropolis, a sacred burial site for an ancient priesthood. But the lack of bones challenges this theory. Others believe the catacombs were a knowledge vault meant to survive catastrophe. But the final chamber reveals a different story. A massive iron door fused shut by intense heat, on which is carved a figure collapsing into beams of light. Was Dharma connected to early experimentation with metals, energy, or something more esoteric? The inscriptions continue to defy translation, leaving only haunting hallways and a riddle locked behind an immovable door.
In the arid expanses of North Africa, archaeologists uncovered temples lined with thousands of polished mica panels, making Sol Nahir one of the earliest known cultures to manipulate reflective surfaces. When struck by sunlight, the temple interiors ignite with cascading beams that dance across the walls, forming shifting patterns researchers believe were used for timekeeping or communication. Each panel is angled with incredible precision, suggesting a deep understanding of solar mathematics. But the true marvel lies in the central chamber, a massive mirror composed of dozens of fused mica sheets, perfectly circular, capable of reflecting sunlight into a concentrated beam. Was this a ceremonial spotlight, a form of illumination, or, as some fringe theorists propose, an early attempt at solar energy manipulation? Surrounding carvings depict figures bathed in radiant light, standing before the mirror as if engaged in ritual communion. Yet Sol Nahir's downfall seems tied to the very sun they worshipped. Geological records indicate a period of extreme solar activity, intense heat waves that lasted decades. The desert expanded, wells dried, and Sol Nahir likely collapsed beneath environmental pressures it could not overcome. Today, the temples remain, shimmering beneath the relentless sun, their mirrors reflecting the lost ambitions of a culture that sought to harness light itself.
They were map makers of a world that barely resembles the one we know, a civilization that charted the continents long before the age of recorded empires. In the dim light of torches flickering against stone walls, ancient cartographers etched coastlines, mountain ranges, and ocean currents with astonishing precision. Their maps, recovered in fragments across continents, depict a global understanding that should not have been possible without seafaring fleets, astronomical instruments, and a network of knowledge spread across vast distances. Yet no written chronicles survive to tell us who they were or how they achieved this mastery of geography. Some historians believe these maps represent a culmination of centuries of observation, while others argue they originate from a lost global culture, one that connected diverse peoples through trade routes we have only begun to imagine. As explorers compare the recovered fragments with modern satellite imagery, the resemblance is too precise to dismiss as coincidence. These were not mythical depictions or symbolic representations. They were functional charts. Whoever created them understood coastlines that, in some cases, reflect shorelines before the last ice age. Their knowledge hints at an ancestry far older than conventional timelines allow. Perhaps they possessed techniques now forgotten, or left us encoded messages in lines and symbols we have not yet learned to interpret. Their legacy remains scattered across the world, urging us to look deeper, to question the silence of history, and to accept the possibility that humanity once achieved a cartographic brilliance long before the great empires rose. The mystery of these mapmakers challenges not only what we know about the past, but also what we believe about human capability.
Long before the age of ironworking,
concrete mixers or cranes, an unknown civilization mastered engineering feats that continue to defy modern explanation. Across remote mountains, dense jungles, and submerged coastlines lie structures carved with a level of precision that challenges our understanding of ancient capabilities. Stones weighing hundreds of tons set perfectly into place, pillars shaped with geometric accuracy, and foundations that remain level despite thousands of years of seismic activity. These constructions were not the result of primitive chiseling. They bear marks of high craft, of tools able to manipulate stone with near-surgical finesse. Some archaeologists propose that these ancient engineers used techniques now forgotten: resonant vibration shaping, thermal fracturing, or early forms of metallurgy lost to time. Others believe these sites served not merely as temples or monuments, but as vast laboratories of knowledge, observatories aligned with solstices, acoustic chambers designed to manipulate sound, or structural networks built to withstand climatic catastrophes. What remains certain is that this civilization possessed a mastery of mathematics and physics unmatched by many societies that followed. Their architectural legacy suggests a people who understood stress distribution, water management, and astronomical alignment with extraordinary sophistication. Yet their identity, name, language, culture, vanished completely. Not a single readable record explains their methods. Only the stones speak for them, whispering of a forgotten age when human capability soared beyond what our textbooks describe. Their ruins challenge our assumptions and remind us that progress is not always linear. Something great once flourished and then disappeared.
Deep within an abandoned plateau, archaeologists discovered an arrangement of pillars forming what appears to be an astronomical calendar, far more advanced than its age suggests. Each pillar aligns flawlessly with solstices, lunar cycles, and the motion of visible planets. Unlike later observatories, this one tracks not only seasonal patterns but long-term cosmic events, precession, eclipses, and celestial cycles spanning thousands of years. The culture that built this structure must have possessed generations of accumulated knowledge, carefully encoded into stone so their descendants could read the sky as a map of time itself. Yet those descendants never came. The civilization that carved this calendar vanished abruptly, leaving behind a silent observatory that continued marking the heavens long after its creators were gone. Scholars still debate its purpose. Was it an agricultural tool, a spiritual monument, or a long-range warning device designed to predict climatic catastrophes? Some interpret its engravings as historical records of past cataclysms, floods, droughts, volcanic winters, hinting that its builders survived cycles of destruction and sought to guide future generations. But no one remained to interpret the warnings. As researchers study the alignments, they uncover patterns that correlate with known astronomical events, some recorded millennia after the builders disappeared. Their understanding of cosmic mechanics was astonishing, comparable to civilizations that rose thousands of years later. The pillars stand today as guardians of ancient wisdom, marking the sky's rhythm with quiet precision. They are the last testimony of a culture that saw time not as a linear path, but as an eternal wheel.
Long before the first official maritime empires recorded their expeditions, evidence suggests that an earlier civilization mastered the art of long-distance oceanic navigation. Scattered across islands thousands of miles apart are identical symbols carved into coral limestone, matching pottery fragments and strands of DNA that indicate ancient contact between distant populations. These clues point to navigators who understood prevailing winds, seasonal currents, and stellar configurations with a level of sophistication rivaling modern seafarers. They built sleek vessels capable of cutting across open ocean waters using star maps encoded in oral chants and geometric patterns woven into ceremonial fabrics. Some believe their voyages began as migrations, while others argue they were deliberate expeditions to chart the edges of the known world. What is most remarkable is their consistency. Wherever traces of this maritime culture appear, they share the same celestial motifs: 7 stars in a curved formation, 3 parallel waves, and a spiral representing the cycle of storms. These recurring symbols may have served as universal guides, marking routes through treacherous seas. Yet, despite their advanced navigation, their origin remains unknown. No central homeland has been found, no great capital city, no central archive of knowledge. Instead, their presence ripples across the ocean like faint echoes of a forgotten golden age. Were they a single civilization with satellite settlements? Or were they a network of cultures unified by shared navigation knowledge? Their disappearance remains as mysterious as their mastery. Perhaps rising seas consumed their coastal cities, or climatic shifts fractured their maritime routes. What is undeniable is that humanity once possessed oceanic wisdom far older than recorded history. These forgotten navigators remind us that the world was connected long before maps existed.
Beneath a coastline now swallowed by the sea lies what researchers believe to be the remains of a vast knowledge repository, an underwater labyrinth of stone chambers filled with carved tablets, sealed niches, and metallic inscriptions. These ruins suggest the existence of a forgotten caste of archivists who dedicated their lives to preserving history, astronomy, medicine, and philosophy. Unlike other ancient libraries that relied on fragile scrolls, this civilization etched its knowledge into durable materials designed to survive the ravages of time. Even so, erosion and ocean pressure have badly damaged many inscriptions, leaving researchers struggling to decode fragments of a once monumental archive. What remains is tantalizing: diagrams of star clusters, medicinal formulas derived from rare plants, early mathematical proofs, and elaborate cosmological models. The precision of their geometric engravings indicates a deep understanding of spatial relationships and numerical theory. Some scholars believe this archive served as a central repository for multiple cultures, acting as a hub of learning that attracted travelers from across the continent. Others argue it was a sanctuary of knowledge established after a great cataclysm, a final attempt to safeguard wisdom before the civilization collapsed. The rising seas that now engulf the site likely forced its inhabitants to abandon it, leaving their life's work to the mercy of the ocean. Today, divers who explore the site describe an eerie stillness, rows of broken tablets staring upward like forgotten pages of a drowned encyclopedia. The librarians of the sunken archive may be gone, but their devotion to preserving truth stands as a testament to humanity's eternal desire to understand the world, even in the face of extinction.
Across several remote mountain regions, archaeologists uncovered a series of crystalline towers, structures built from translucent stone that refract sunlight into beams and patterns across nearby rock faces. These formations align with reflective surfaces carved with precise angles, suggesting an ancient communication system based entirely on the manipulation of light. Rather than using fire or sound, this civilization encoded messages through sequences of reflections that traveled across valleys and mountain ridges. The technology appears deceptively simple, yet astonishingly effective, capable of transmitting information over long distances in seconds. The arrangement of these towers implies a network spanning hundreds of kilometers, allowing communities to communicate warnings, announcements, and seasonal updates without the need for roads or couriers. Some surfaces contain engravings resembling mathematical notations, hinting that the builders understood light behavior, refraction, and angular geometry with surprising depth. Further study reveals evidence that the system may also have served ceremonial or astronomical purposes. At certain times of the year, the reflected beams converge on symbolic structures, creating dazzling displays that resemble coded rituals. What ultimately destroyed this unique communication culture remains unclear. A shift in climate could have obscured sunlight for prolonged periods. Massive dust storms might have disrupted visibility, rendering the system useless. Whatever the cause, the Cowers were abandoned, their purpose forgotten until rediscovered thousands of years later. Today, their silent geometry stands as proof that innovation takes many forms, and that ancient civilizations often explored technologies modern society has overlooked or dismissed. These crystal towers remind us that knowledge is not always passed forward. Sometimes it is extinguished like light at dusk. In a remote desert plateau lie the remains of circular temples adorned with carvings depicting stars, dreamscapes, and astral beings. These structures appear to have been built by a civilization that believed dreams were gateways to universal knowledge, bridges between the physical world and the cosmic realm. The temples contain chambers designed to enhance sensory isolation, using acoustic resonance and controlled airflow to induce states of deep meditation or lucid dreaming. Carved stone beds positioned beneath skylights allowed starlight to illuminate specific symbols at certain times of the year, guiding dreamers into visionary experiences. Archaeologists found pigment residues and mineral traces, suggesting the use of natural compounds to stimulate vivid dreams or altered states of consciousness. Yet these practices were not merely spiritual rituals. They seemed to function as a sophisticated cognitive science, aiming to access insights hidden within the subconscious. Many carvings depict dreamers surrounded by geometric patterns that resemble neural pathways or energy flows, implying an early understanding of the mind's internal landscape. Why this civilization vanished remains unknown. Perhaps environmental collapse or conflict forced the abandonment of their sacred sites, or perhaps their pursuit of inner knowledge diverted resources away from survival. Whatever the cause, their temples now stand as haunting reminders of a culture that sought wisdom not in conquest or engineering, but in the depths of human consciousness. Their legacy invites us to consider that dreams, too, may hold truths about our origins and potential.
Legends speak of a flourishing civilization that disappeared so abruptly it seemed as though the entire population vanished in a single night. Archaeological evidence supports this eerie narrative. Abandoned homes with meals still prepared, workshops filled with unfinished crafts, and no signs of evacuation or struggle. The city layout reveals advanced urban planning, irrigation channels, astronomical towers, and communal halls. Yet all activity ceased at once, frozen in time. Some theorists attribute this disappearance to a sudden geological event, perhaps a massive sinkhole, toxic gas eruption, or volcanic collapse. Others suggest a rapid invasion, but no mass graves, defensive damage, or weapon remnants have been discovered. More speculative explanations propose mass migration triggered by divine prophecy or celestial phenomenon. What makes the mystery even deeper is the discovery of identical abandonment patterns in nearby settlements, all occurring within the same narrow time window. It is as though the entire region received a signal, spoken or unspoken, that compelled them to leave instantly. But where did they go? No migration trails exist, and no receiving culture records their arrival. It is possible that they journeyed underground or fled toward mountain valleys now inaccessible. The silence of this vanished civilization reminds us that human history is full of sudden turning points, moments when even the most advanced societies can collapse overnight.
Their disappearance challenges historians and inspires storytellers, fueling speculation about the fragility of civilization itself. What remains are structures standing quietly beneath the sun, holding secrets that may never be fully uncovered.